go. Apparently he's also streaming it on Twitch. But why would you watch that when you have someone casting it, am I right? PVT. Scout me, good luck, have fun. That's not threatening at all. Alright, game number 1 on Royal Blood between 2 players, one with what I think is a very special name, but his opponent is the Pink Terran at the top right, Deribou, or however you say it. I can't be bothered to ask him. And in the bottom left we have our Protoss player, Scout me, good luck, have fun, with the red Protoss probes. And let's see what their game plan is. For Deribou, it seems quite interesting because he does not have the concept of his side of the map, where he's just very keen on invading people's personal space. Either way, the barracks is now on the Protoss side of the map, but since it's only one, I think it'll just be for a Reaper. But there's only one way to find out. Someone who wants to be scouted is apparently also someone who likes to scout himself. So he will fortunately find out that there is no barracks at home for the Terran player. And whether he knows how many Araxes it is and what everybody's going to do with will all depend on the reaction we'll see after the Cybercore is finished. Although I really hope he does not skip out on his natural due to this. And it looks like he won't. That is very good. Probe decides to stay a bit longer, as apparently Deribou is not the only one who likes to invade personal space. But probes are very well known for this, so I don't think it surprises him. Reaper pops out, going straight to the natural where a bunker is being built for Deribou, and immediately goes into the main. Depth isn't out yet, of course, since Roxy Reaper tends to hit a bit before that. Fortunately for our Protoss player, it was only one barracks, so there is no real worry, except for the fact that it's a bit annoying. Now, the one unfortunate part for a Protoss player here is that the pylon is quite a bit back, so the battery will be very far back, which means I don't think he can actually hit the bunker and get healed by the battery at the same time. But with a little bit of micro, that problem will be solved. Stalker shows up, forces the Reapers to stay inside of the bunker. Could probably even hit it from the high ground, but I don't think Vilee realizes that. Now the follow-up for the Terran player is going to be a vast cyclone with the missile upgrade. I don't know the exact name for it, because, you know, if you play Terran, it's kind of sad. No offense, Deribou.
Mag field accelerator.
There we go, Mag field accelerator. Yeah, it was on the tip of my tongue. I'm a big fan of the upgrade, of course. Definitely does not always kill my stalkers very fast. SCV does fall, so there will be no repairs left for the bunker. And battery is apparently in range, so I was wrong. You know, it happens the best. And the stalkers will be able to force the Reapers back. But it did serve the purpose that Deribou wanted, as there has been no mining up until this point from the natural base. Alright, medevac with that cyclone now coming across, going to meet up with the Reapers and will most likely jump into the main with that. Whereas Vilee, his tech of choice was the Robo, and is now adding on some gates plus the robotics bay. observer coming out. First one's already going across the map. Unfortunately, he did miss the medevac coming across, and Deribou is now targeting down the pylon. But fortunately for Vilee, he did have enough units, so the stalkers forced at least a medevac away and forced a lift off on that cyclone. Cleans up nicely, loses one adept in the process, but I think that is a very worthwhile trade, as Vilee is going to set up for a third base. Natural now going to land for Deribou. Meanwhile, that third base did in fact go up for Vilee. Cyclone coming back home, observer does spot it, second observer going to join his friend. And Vilee is setting up a nice net of vision around the Terran base. Well, I say that, they kind of just look at the same spot. You know, two eyes are better than one. So, very unfortunate if you're a pirate. Stim, follow up now, adding on, going up to 5 racks, no third base in sight. So what I'm looking at here is, I think, an all-in from Deribou, and we'll see how much of a preparation Vilee will have. One Colossus already done, he's probably looking to build another one, but he was lacking the gas. Working in 2 stalkers makes it a bit harder to build a Colossus if you're lacking gas. And so far Vilee seems to be struggling spending his minerals, but overall he's in a great position. I would like to see one of the observers to go into the main base, so he doesn't know what he's up against. But Deribou realizes that scouting would be an issue, makes a Raven to get rid of these pesky observers. So far only one, but Vilee does decide to pull the other one into the Raven? That's where you last saw him. Yeah, sure. The observer tries to find a somewhat safer position. 2 forges now coming up for the Protoss. A second Colossus is also on the way, and a bunch of extra gates. So Vilee is in fact preparing for a push out. But Deribou doesn't really seem interested in using the racks he built. You know what happens. So there it might just be for decoration. It's, maybe in his mind it's almost Christmas, and when it's almost Christmas time, you build a lot of decorations, you know. That's how it goes. So let's just leave him in the belief that it's almost Christmas. Vilee set up nicely at the third base. Fortunately for him, this is also where the Terran is pushing from, rather than dropping in the main, which is currently almost defenseless. But Deribou setting up a nice position for herself. A lot of Marines coming here, but there are 2 Colossus here together, and if Deribou stims once, they will be able to one-shot the Marines. Sim coming in. Colossi putting in a lot of damage. One Cyclone immediately falls, other Cyclone gets microed back. Marines are fleeing, take out one more Stalker, but most of them will in the end fall. As Deribou decides that this is not an attack he can make work, which I would agree with, but apparently he needed to test the waters one more time before he really decides, before he should have really decided that this was not a fight you can take. In the end, Deribou's army falls, and Vilee feels confident enough that he can push across the map. No third base for Deribou, however, so there will be nothing here to do for Vilee, as a very optimistic SCV thinks it is in fact the time to expand, and Vilee thinks it's his man.
Holy smoke! The SCV was right.
Vilee decides to go back home. Did he even see it? He did not see the 30C going down, so for Deribou this was a massive stroke of luck, as he finally decides to use his barracks, and the army production is getting quite high finally. On the other hand, Vilee is going for the next piece of tech in the Dark Shrine, which after killing, oh no, right, Raven went back home, so Deribou is somewhat prepared for that, but they might also just be for Archons, we'll find out later. 1-1 done for Vilee, going for 2-2 now. Charge is also on the way, so he's really going to slowly build his way up to the ideal Protoss army, as Deribou sends out a 4 Widowmine drop and some Marines to see what's going on across the map, whereas Vilee has done the same with a couple Zealots. Fortunately for the Marines, Zealots don't take kindly, and they happen to be a bit stronger. Should have went to the gym more if you're a Marine. when this Marine decided to call his big brother. So 3 Marauders showed up. Maybe a bit overkill, but it does kill the Marine. And one Zealot spots the Widowmine drop. Decides to drop one to kill this Zealot and boosts into the main base. Sees the 4th base, will drop into the 4th base. Whereas so far, not much of a response from Vilee. Does pull away the probes, but about 7 fall in the end. Not a bad trade for 4 Widowmines. Prism is now on Vilee's side of the map, but as you can see, the hotkey usage is becoming apparent, as that wanted to really meet up with his friends for a bit. Prism now ready to go drop into the main base. As Deribou now sees the attack coming through the center tower, sees that it's quite a lot of units. We'll see how he prepares for this. Does not set up a concave, does not burrow the mines. This could have been a really good fight for him, but the Disruptor is going to take a lot of units down with that Nova. As a bunch of Zealots are warped into the main fight is still happening. Vilee is actually retreating, which may be the right call, maybe not. He has a lot of army here, but the Marauders are quite scary against everything that Vilee has. The Zealots in the meanwhile taking out 16 SCVs, getting a lot of damage done. A lot of the reinforcements are also immediately dying as they are coming out of the barracks, but 2 Vikings now show up to deal with the Prism, and the 4 Zealots in it fall with it. Zealots in the main slowly getting dealt with, and this will somewhat stabilize Deribou. Although he did lose a lot of army, Vilee is taking this opportunity where the army went into the main base to attack the 3rd base of Deribou. DTs are now being morphed in, as well Blink is on the way at the same time, as more and more bio is on the production tab for Deribou, but 11 SCVs fall in the process. Another great Disruptor hit, as one Stray Zealot is still left in the main base, but really wants to go back home. Gets intercepted by the Marauders, which broke its ankles, so he couldn't run very fast anymore. The pro production for Vilee kind of stopped. Really not a fan of this. He could be really expanding upon this position, but it seems he is too busy with microing against 5 bio units and move commanding into them. Ghosts are now out for Deribou, which, since only 1 Colossus is left and a couple Vikings are here to deal with it, might be able to turn this into a good fight, as all of the shields will be removed. The Disruptor goes in, kills 1 Ghost, 1 Marauder, but it seems there is just too much Protoss for Deribou to deal with here, as all of his army falls and he hits the GG. What was the second map? It was Crescent. Wait, I'm not. Swear I'm paying attention. Okay, now we're ready. Thank God Vilee does not want to play TVT, because as far as I'm aware, no one wants to watch TVT either. Wise decisions are being made, as is reflected in his play so far. Alright, game number 2, with a somewhat cheesy opening. Deribou did not manage to secure the victory, but he's looking to score a point on the board here, as he is going to give it another shot on Greswan in the top left corner of the map. Vilee, now in the bottom right corner of the map, looking to advance his position in the series, showing some solid macro play in the last game, and we'll see whether he decides to change it up. or stick with the winning method. Deribou decides to keep his barracks at home this game, as having it on the enemy side of the map tends to make it a bit hard to build up that marine count early. Instead, Vilee decides to show a bit more of his cheesy side as the second gas is going down and the probe is going across the map. Deribou is going for a nice early scout, so he will realize something is up in time, but whether he will know what is up in time is something we'll have to find out later, as the SCV is only halfway across the map so far. Proxy pylon is going down as Deribou sets up to build his natural, as he still does not know of the lack of a natural from Vilee. Zealot coming out at the same time to keep the Terran busy, while Deribou decides to go for an eBay block and sends the Marine across at the same time. Rather, he sends the Marine to scout around the map, see whether he can find anything weird as Vilee drops his Stargate, and the Marine is steadily on his way to that side of the map. Hopefully he won't stop here and walks a bit further. Adept now coming out as well, as Vilee figured out that his natural is in fact blocked. As Deribou finished the engineering bay, so there will be no option to cancel it when it's close to dying. It's actually quite a significant amount of minerals that you can get back from this early in the game. After he did scout this though, he did give up on the idea of a natural, went for a faster second gas, and now drops the factory. It's a proxied Oracle coming out, chrono boosted out at the same time, as he's also trying to deal with the engineering bay in the meantime, though he did send most of his units across the map, as only one Adept remains, whereas the Zealot is chasing the Marine. I don't actually know which one has a higher movement speed, but it looks very silly. Alright. Oracle coming out. Let's see whether Vilee pays attention. And Oracle is now heading towards the main base of the Terran. Deribou is ready here with 2 Marines, which I think Vilee can just fight with the Oracle. But a turret's coming at the same time, which makes it very hard for the Oracle to do anything significant here, as the turret has it pretty much covered. So far, getting 1 SCV that's building the starport, but taking massive damage from both the Marines and the missile turret, and only getting 1 SCV kill, which in the current state of the game, it is a very bad position for Vilee, as he does have a Stargate, but he has no natural in sight, and barely any damage done with that Oracle. Does immediately scout the natural going up for Deribou, but a lot of units are already coming down to protect it at the same time, as he that kills 1 SCV and then loses its life for it. Zealot almost dealt with the engineering bay, as Deribou drops the turret to make sure this Oracle can't really do anything at all in this game altogether. Vilee, as the engineering bay died, decides to expand at his third base. Interesting decision. You know, my parents always used to say, why do it the hard way if you can do it the easy way? So Vilee decides to reverse that and makes the game a lot harder for himself. As the Cyclone goes across the map, sees the Oracle moving, decides to come back home. As, he does tend to be the only one who can keep up with the Oracle. Oracle decides to peek in once again. Gets 2 SCVs so far, barely out of the missile turret range. But the SCVs are quickly pulled, only 2 SCVs going down. Oracle still standing here, but is going to lose its life to the Viking without finishing off the 2 low SCVs. Follow up for Vilee seems to be Blink. 4 gateways on the way as well. So he's looking to keep up the aggression against Deribou, who seems to be pretty well defended, especially against Stalkers, as he has the tank number growing already, and there are only 5 Stalkers out on the map right now. A bunker in front of the tank as well, so if Vilee does decide to jump on it, he's going to surely regret it. as it seems to be quite all in from him as well. Not much in the production tab, only a couple of stalkers, adding on probes now as well. Where, as you can see, Deribou is really trying to macro up in this game, and it is kind of reflected on the position he's in. The supplies are very even, but I think the position is very favored for Deribou right now. Had he been building CVs a bit more consistently. Raven is now out as well in case of the DTs, or perhaps it was part of his build all along. Maybe it was, we saw the same thing last game. Really trying to get some vision with the Zealots, but the tank is here to quickly shoo him away. Scan going down, barely misses all of the Stalkers, but they are probably coming into vision now as the Stalkers move back in, try to get the Raven, but only deal some damage to it before they have to back off. Third base now coming up for Vilee, same with the robotics facility. So Vilee probably looking to go back into the Colossi as they did wonders for him last game. However, Deribou is already working on his stim and combat shield and building up this bio count along with the tank count, which is going to make it quite hard for Vilee to hold if he decides to push before the Colossi or any other form of splash damage finishes up, as Stalkers are really horrible against stimmed bio. Medivacs coming out at the same time, so it's looking to be quite a scary push for Deribou as he decides to gather some intel with the Cyclone. Confirms, yep, they're still Stalkers. Quickly goes back into the base. There's now a new Oracle out as well, gets the revelation for that extra info, but loses about half of its hull HP. So maybe not the best revelation it's ever done. Vikings are out as well, anticipating those Colossi, or maybe for the Oracle, but that would be a bit overbearing as he already has the Cyclone and a bunch of Marines. Double drop now going out as he realized that the Stalkers are still in front of the base rather than at home, as Vilee is going to up his gateway count to be able to defend at home. Deribou pushing out a lot of units. This is also reflected in the supply as he's up 15 supply with not much happening after this, and as predicted the Colossi is being chronoed out now. As Deribou once more confirms, the Stalkers are still out on the map. Double drop flies past the pylon. Did Vilee see it? Vilee, no response so far, no recall, no nothing, no weapons in the main. Double drop is going in, goes right into the mineral line. Might even be able to cancel the extended thermal lance for the Colossi, as all of the bio drops out. It's uncontested. 11 probes immediately fall. Colossi shows up. Targets one pylon, unfortunately only depowers the robo. But overall great damage, losing only 2 or 3 bio units in at the same time. Yeah, like 4 Marines. 3 if you, 3 probably. As the third base for Deribou is trying to get up. Unlike most Terran players, he decides to build it on location as he expected Vilee to immediately go home after that double drop, as there's really not much home to defend it. Vilee decides to stay on the other side of the map, however, and forces a cancel immediately on that third base. Deribou, not rebuilding it, decides to chase the Stalkers instead. Loses a lot of units in the process, as these Stalkers are quite good at kiting. But the double drop does intercept, as he now blinks into the rest of the bio and loses almost all of the Stalkers. Deribou, very distracted though, would have loved to see him just go into the natural, leave the Stalkers alone. They are really not a threat. 4 Stalkers recalled in the meantime, still no third base coming up now. Same thing with the armory, as he is looking to go for the higher upgrades. Although his +1 armor is only on the way now, along with his +1 attack. Gets a couple scans. Vilee nice enough to just walk into the scans, show his army, but at the same time immediately jumps on Deribou's army as the tanks immediately fall to the Zealots. But all of the Zealots die in the process, and only 2 Colossi and a couple Stalkers are left to defend this massive onslaught of bio, as the Zealots once more charge in into what I think is a bit too much bio. Vikings are still shooting away at those Colossi without much resistance, but Deribou thinks that he does not have enough left to finish off Vilee in this position. The production tab is really saying a lot about this game, as Vilee not producing that much compared to Deribou, which is reflected in their position in the game as well. Although he is going for the 4th base now, thinks he's in a safe enough position to do that, while almost all of his army just died. So it might not be the wisest decision in my book, but who am I to say that? I'm not in the game. Alright, Deribou looking to move his army to more of the right side of the map. Figures out that the Stargate is still here. Might as well kill that. Does it with the entire army, allowing Vilee to pretty much know where Deribou is going to come from. But whether Vilee actually thinks about where the army is or not, it appears to not be so important to him, as he just keeps his army at his 4th base. 4th base at the same time coming up for Deribou, as his 1-1 finishes up. At the same time, disruptors are now on the way for Vilee. They worked out really well for him last game, so they might be able to pull some more miracle shots, as Vilee still has a bit of catch up to do in this game. Deribou going up to 6 gas. Hopefully we'll see a Ghost Academy along with that, but so far it's just 2 Raxes being added on. 40T's warped in for Vilee, moving across the map, hoping that there is a lack of detection. So far, that only holds true for the 3rd base, as the other bases still have the turrets with the Oracle. Now, does he see them walking into the base? No, as the DTs do find the 4th and decide to cancel that instead. Now, does Deribou react fast enough? Will he be able to save the 4th? Seems like the army's moving over. Scan is hopefully ready, stims in, and the 4th will be saved. Probably be able to finish that and repair it in time, as Vilee is moving out on the map. With a mines here to deal a bit of damage before it even shows up. Really nice for him. The Zealots are quite annoying to deal with, as he cancels the 4th base. This was done before he even realized there was an army on the way, so I'm curious as to why he did that, as the 4th base is now being built at the 3rd base location. Scans to see the army, sees a disruptor, sees the amount of units here for Vilee. Stims in with a small part of the army, just to even up the supply a bit. It's one of the Terrans who does not like to fight an uneven fight. Decides to donate a bit, as both disruptors have now used their shot. The Vikings are shooting freely at the Colossi without being shot back. Ghosts are here using their EMPs. A lot of shields are gone, as all the bio now stims in. The Vikings are shooting away at the Colossi. Really good concave for Deribou. While the prism falls, so there will be no more reinforcements. Disruptor shoots, but all of the Colossi fall. Vikings will now land, but a lot of the bio has been cleaned up by those Archons, by those Disruptors. Deribou now desperate enough to pull the SCVs. 3 more go show up, get rid of the Archons, but there's just too much Protoss left for Deribou to deal with, and that is game number 2. Game number 3 on Ancient Cistern.
What the fuck? Since when is game 3 Ancient Cistern?
You should ask Avery that.
It's always Ancient Cistern.
When it's Mo's cast, it's Neo-Humanity.
I got reprimanded for that. I saw the at everyone thing. Unless both players agree, I cannot change the map. So, in this case, we only change the map if Avery is not in the voice call.
I like it.
If you're casting Mo's, and if both players don't mind, I don't care.
Fair enough.
When
But,
you cast,
unfortunately,
it's
for
your
now,
decision.
we find ourselves on Ancient Cistern. It was not as pretty or as cool or as good as a map as Neo-Humanity. Some players may disagree, but we just tell them they're coping, and then we are in the right. So instead, on the bottom left of the map, Deribou is now on Ancient Cistern, trying to get that 1 map win for at least a point on the board. Whereas Vilee finding himself in a comfortable 2-0 position with a bit more of a cheesy play last game, but some solid macro afterwards. Though getting quite lucky with the disruptor shots, I have to say. Is now looking to finish off the series on this subpar map, if you ask me. So far the builds seem quite standard, nothing out of the ordinary yet, although Vilee seems to not be fond of probes and might just be going for a Nexus first. Which is odd at 17 as well. He might be doing one of my favorite builds called the Adept Twister. Inspired by Parting, of course. The original Twister. But he did not twist Adepts, he twisted dicks. Or so he said. Parting, a legend among Protoss, of course. As no chrono used either, so it's looking a suspiciously lot like that build. Although I don't see a proxy pylon going up yet, so I'm curious to see where Vilee does bring this. Might just be a Nexus first for that extra income. As Deribou decides to expand on the high ground this game. Factory going down quite fast, as he did skip the Reaper in favor of a Marine first, whereas the probe gets recalled home since he doesn't want to lose it. Which, in my opinion, you could have just ran home. You know, you could have used a chrono for more probes, but I'm not the one playing here, so maybe it'll work out for him.
Actually, the recall or the chrono is not as good as just recalling it. Anybody wanted to know.
I would still prefer chrono. That guy can run home. I sent him out to scout, so he just goes to scout. There's no easy way out of it.
Good to know. If you scout for Moes, you're probably gonna die. It's a suicide mission.
That means you're dedicated to the cause. You will go to Valhalla afterwards. That's the promise I make, at least. Whether it's true or not, I don't really care. Alright, Natural now going to land for Deribou, as Vilee does have quite a large worker advantage for this early into the game. That's partially thanks to that early Nexus. As he's now looking to build another very early Nexus. Or maybe he's going to build a spotter pylon, you know. Could always click on the probe. The more you know. As second barracks coming up for Deribou. Looked like a 2-1-1 for a bit, but I think Deribou has different ideas. As he went for a Cyclone first, so it might just be a delayed 2-1-1. But it is giving me that vibe in the end. As in fact, I don't think it is in fact, as the tech lab is coming up on the factory, while third base is going down for Vilee. Whereas, meanwhile, the Cyclone going across the map, kind of see what's going on. I hope for Deribou he will also see that third base, but for now he seems content with just trying to kill one Stalker, which unfortunately gets out of vision and breaks the lock on. And from there, he seems happy with his life, just going back home. It's not suicidal enough to stay on Protoss ground for too long, as that never proves to prolong one's lifespan. Robotics Bay going down for Vilee, once more going for those Colossi, as they are quite effective against the bio units of Deribou. While the Cyclone gets caught by those Stalkers it was trying to annoy earlier, Stalkers were annoyed enough to straight up take its life. I don't know how good that will be with the Judge. I don't think being annoyed is enough of a reason to kill someone. But maybe it is for the Protoss. You know, just a culture difference. More spotter pylons going down, this time in the main. And both are just trying to build up their army. As Deribou's going for a 3-1-1 before he's going for that 30C. Building a late bunker. The Cyclone did die, so you need another way to feel safe. Even if you already were. But if you're already safe and it doesn't feel like it, are you really safe then? According to Deribou, you're not safe. But now he is. A double forge on the way for Vilee, along with the second Colossus. He seems to be once more working his way up to the ideal Protoss army for the mid game. Although that kind of depends on which Protoss you ask, because if you were to ask me, I would have already had a carrier or two. Double drop going out. Fortunately for Deribou, to the one point where there is no spotter pylons for Vilee, so he will be able to drop into that third base, where there is only now going a battery down, as he scans for an observer. But it seems the only observer there was in the imagination of Deribou, as he seems content with dropping over here rather than in the third base indirectly, while he sends out another double drop going more towards the main base. At the same time, the Raven is going in, finds a couple of probe kills with those auto turrets. Kind of a slow reaction from Vilee as 4 probes fall, but fortunately for Vilee, Deribou is not really fond of multitasking, or at least that's what the Terrans call it. I call it shift clicking, which is not the same, trust me. 15 probes are about to fall though, 14 in the end. One it's lucky enough to tell its friends what was fired here. So double drop in the main now also going in, as the entire army for Vilee was pulled to the third base. So this is quite good for Deribou, as the double drop in the main base is going in. One Colossus just finished. Deribou will be able to just stim on that, as the Marauders do a lot of damage to it. Colossus falls. The bio immediately focuses the Zealots. Zealots will only be able to kill one Marine, as the double drop in the third is going back at the same time. Vilee did split his army, however, but is he fast enough to respond to both at the same time? 23 probes going down. The work count is now equal. Unfortunately, Deribou is not expanding on this by just immediately going for the third base, dropping the extra racks. Only 3 bio units in production at a time, which is going to let Vilee, is going to give Vilee a chance to get back into this game immediately. So double drop is still hanging out here. Vilee does not seem to realize it. Minimap DLC, quite expensive. I don't think he's bought it, as the drop just goes back in immediately. 10 more probes fall. The entire army is F2'd back. One Colossus is recalled into it, immediately falls to the bio, as Deribou is just going to fight his way out, but there was no way out. But 18 probes from the process, and it is giving a significant work advantage to Deribou, as he is finally adding on that production and the armory to get a further upgrade lead, or well, to even up the upgrades first. As Vilee, with still a lot of army left, just having killed a lot of army for Deribou, that's to move across the map. Only one Colossus left though, so if the Marauders do decide to just stim on that, it could be in a tough position, as a lot of the bio now shows up, kills off a couple of Zealots so far, stims once more. The Colossus putting in a lot of damage, but unfortunately for Vilee, it's targeting the Marauders, which don't really care too much. It's the Marines you really want to shoot. No charge left, so the
He forgot to discharge.
yeah, no charge, so the Zealots are just slowly walking towards this bio, not really getting any damage in, as the prison now shows up for the reinforcements, but the Viking is here poking away at that last remaining Colossus. If the Colossus falls, there is no real way to deal with the bio, as the Zealots have no charge. As the Stalkers, I don't think they have blink, but they are not too great at bio either way, as the Colossus does now fall, and all that's left for Vilee is these gateway units. Deribou cleaning up this army quite well. President decides it's not worth reinforcing this anymore and is going back home. Deribou now in a great position both on army supply and worker count, and all he will have to do from here is just finish up the game, unless he manages another colossal throw like in the second game, but he looks like he's just going to secure his position even further by going for the fourth base and getting his +2 attack on the way. Ghost now on the way at the same time, gonna make the coming fights a lot easier, as one mine is dealing so much damage. Or, well, 1 kill so far. I thought it was there longer, because, you know, I don't use the minimap either. Maybe it's a common thing with Protosses. Vilee now just leaving the mine, because you want to give the other guy a chance. You are playing Protoss, and that chance has been given in the series as Vilee GG's out, and we go to game 4.
He realized he forgot his Twilight. As soon as he queued up his Twilight, he left the game.
Royal blood. Thought he had charge. Probably would have won it if he did.
Yeah, he had so many Zealots. That didn't do any damage, right? There's only like a few more hours left.
Yeah. Oh, it's Zerg now.
Oh, did they want royal blood?
Oh, that's just map 4.
Top 4 was altitude. Maybe I'm tripping.
Alright,
I think it's 5.
game number 4. The score is 1-2 in favor of our previous Protoss player, deciding to switch his allegiance to the Swarm, which in my book, he's dead to me. So we're gonna quickly move on to the bottom left side of the map, where Deribou sticking to his guns, still rocking that Terran. No suspicious SCV going out so far, as he's looking to even up the series into a 2-2 situation where we can see the ace match. For now, playing standard, same thing for Vilee with his disgusting Zerg drones, and I will say nothing good about this race ever. Not much to say so far. Overlord is just cruising across the map as the barracks is slowly on the way. No second gas, so it's genuinely looking to be a normal macro game as the pool and the gas are coming at a normal timing as well. Maybe he probably will go for a Reaper at this point as the barracks has already rallied across, and he is going to expand for that natural at the same time, whereas the SCV is going across to see if there even is a hatchery. Just drones coming out for Vilee. One drone is going out to that third base location. Probably just a height there before the Reaper shows up, but the SCV did in fact catch it. So maybe the Reaper will just go straight to the third base location, which I wouldn't even mind. That's probably a good decision. But Vilee, following quite a lot of money, decides to leave the larva for a bit and go for that fast third base as the Reaper makes his way in. Lings are not out yet. And gets one worker, which is not really supposed to happen, but the Reaper was quite fast, or as some would say normally timed, but we call those people tryhards. As the factory's coming up for Deribou, second gas is down as well, so he is going to be a bit more tech heavy rather than going for that fast 3cc. But the Reaper does get shooed away at this point by the Queen, and link speed seems to be on time as well. So we're just heading into a standard game so far, as the Hellions are going to be in production. And yeah, they're just saturating their natural bases so far. Starport is also on the way with a tech lab next to it from the barracks, so we will likely see Banshees, which are really popular against the Zerg, and I don't blame them. They're fun to play with, and I will not call them good units. Vilee getting out that creep, Queen in the front, lacking a bit of energy for the next tumor, but overall at least the bases are connected. As the Hellions are going to join up with the Reaper and looking to reduce some of that creep, or at least keep it in check. Checks to the third base, only sees one drone just finishing up, whereas Vilee seems to be struggling a bit, spending his larva, which usually not great. Larva are capped at some point, so you you kind of want to spend those as soon as you can. But the priority so far is at the creep. You know, at least this way he can see the units coming before they kill him, rather than after. It just depends on the Zerg. Some units will build the units to fight the army, some will build the creep to see the army. Really depends on how you like to die, because we all know Terran is balanced. Hellions making their way across, or all around rather, but the Queen's are already in position to kind of shoo them away, so Deribou is not even going to try. Decides to go back and meet up with the next set of Hellions, as the Queens are actually pretty well split. These will definitely keep the Hellions out from the important positions. Right now the creep hasn't spread out too far yet, so in a way the Hellions are still achieving their goal. As the Baneling is now on the way, meanwhile Stim is almost done for Deribou. Not a lot of bio units are out yet, so he most likely will just wait for that combat shield afterwards and do a pretty significant push with that. I think Vilee will need his Bane speed to deal with it. Fortunately for him, the lair is already done, so it will be an option. As the Viking made his way across the map, is now harassing some overlords. Does get one, but Vilee was prepared and is not even close to getting supply blocks. Viking gets shooed away by the Queens, and at the same time he's cleaning up some creep at the third base location of Vilee. Well, pretty much all of it in front of it. And the units get out safely, which isn't always nice. No need to sacrifice yourself for the cause, you're not zealots. Vilee is going to try to regain that creep, as he does want to see when Deribou is pushing out, since his overlord on the other side of the map did get cleaned up. And Deribou is now setting up for that push. Probably wants to wait that little bit for combat shield. And it looks like he is in fact doing that. +1 is almost done as well. I really hope he doesn't push before this, as this will massively help out his push. It would probably be a game-winning push, depending on how good his splits are. Tanks shooting up outside of the creep. Creep tumors are cleaned up, so it's not dissipating as well, making it harder for Vilee to get onto the tanks. Some Marines stim in once more. He sees the Banelings. Banelings are slowly coming in, but only in pairs of 3. Lings slowly falling as well. More Lings on the way. Bane speed is on the way, but not about 3/4 of the way done. More bio in the production for Deribou, as the Marines are just fighting their way through the waves, circlings. As Vilee decides to go in before Bane speed finishes, loses most of them to the tank, as most of the bio still stands. 3 Banes left, but the tanks do fall. Supply not looking good for Vilee, usually not what you want to see in a Zerg. The upgrades are now also done for Deribou, as his +1 armor just started. And he decides to wait for more reinforcements, or maybe go back. I would actually agree with that decision, as more Banes finish up now, and this is not nearly enough Marines with nearly enough health to deal with it. Decides to fight some of the Lings, loses half of the bio, goes back anyway, as one more medevac joins, along with the reinforcements. But Vilee was not done yet, goes in further, as he just loses some Lings, and Deribou can easily pick up before he loses the majority of his army. As 2 more medevacs join up, and he's retreating to his third base, as Vilee is trying to press the issue with a few Lings at like 7 Banelings, as they will now roll into 4 Marines, lose 3 of the Banelings, and the Lings are trying to deal as much damage as they can, but there is simply too much bio to continue this attack. 4th base has finished up for Vilee, quite a while ago even. There's now 11 drones on the way, as he did push the Terran back, and he wants to get further ahead in that economy. So far, he has been kind of struggling getting out the drone count, as Deribou has been quite aggressive with his units. And Deribou is looking to continue keeping up that aggression, as he's once again going across the map, dropping a tank in quite an annoying position behind the rocks. But he will need to protect that with some bio, otherwise a couple of Lings can just kill it. It's not that big of a threat on its own. Bio makes its way across with 1 more tank. The tank seizes up in the back once more, as the bio is shelling away at that the 4th base. As the Lings now come in, the bio splits. The tanks are dishing out a lot of damage. The Liberators siege up, as almost all but 2 of the Banelings fall. there is not much army left here for Vilee. 30 lings in production, there are no banelings, there are no queens here to defend. There is no stronger unit that's liberated siege up further to really lock this position down together with the tanks. Bayona finally clears up the 4th base, putting this in an equal base position, as they are both on 3 base, which usually favors the Terran, who is also now trying to secure his 3rd base even more. I'd like to see a 4th base, especially after this good of a fight, along with the minerals you're floating, as Vilee is now ready once more with the bangs and the lings, sending a ling run by out as well. Deribou should be wary of this, as he does have the sensor tower. Lings make it through the depots quite easily, as about 7 marines show up. We'll be able to deal with the lings if they choose to do so. But it seems to be an army that gets to decide on when they want to work, rather than being forced to work. So maybe Mengsk was not that bad of a guy after all. Okay, they don't seem very overworked, they get to decide when. 2-2 on the way for Deribou, as only +2 armor is on the way for Vilee with +1 melee, so he is behind at least 1 upgrade so far, which is going to make the fights a bit rough for him, as there is a lot of bio out. The tanks still positioned aggressively with the Liberators. Vilee could probably just clean this up, but so far he's decided to give up on that position and expand it the other way, as probably the smallest run by is being set up on the left side, probably just spotters though, as the Lingbane is trying to move a bit out on the map, or at least a couple links for that run by, whereas Deribou is making his way onto the creep, maybe just to clear it, maybe he's looking to push here. We'll see after we see how far he moves up. But so far he's just moving back to deal with the run by, as Vilee is really not a fan of sensor towers. And we wouldn't want them knowing we're attacking this 4th base, which he knows is not here. So let's get rid of it. Lings making their way back home, but they're taking the scenic routes, as they in fact go back into Deribou's base. A couple marines catch up on this, but they get cleaned up by the massive force of Lingbane, as Deribou is now setting up a siege position here to deal with this run by, even kind of encircling it with 2 tanks. So not too much. Deribou not really pushing his advantage, and is more worried about what's happening on his side of the map rather than just finishing the game. But he is eventually going to make his way across the map, back with the tanks, with the Liberators, but Vilee is cutting off the reinforcements, as Deribou apparently really needed those 4 marines to keep fighting, decides to go back, protect the tank. The tank does fall, and the marines are now here to protect the remainder of the tanks, as a bit of bio gets in between the 3rd and the natural, but quickly gets surrounded by the lings as they are left with no support. Rest of the bio finds some mainlings, but overall the supply is still looking good for Deribou, as 28 lings are in production. There's still a significant bio force left here for Deribou, as he can probably press the issue. Reinforcements once again getting picked off here, but the bio makes its way back in time, but the banelings find the bio before that. Eventually the banes do get cleaned up by the tanks, by the Liberators, as the supply once more plummets for Vilee. The 4th and 5th base are now up for Deribou, so putting him on equal base with the Zerg once again. The Zerg really not on a drone count where he wants to be. He wants to have at least 10, 20 more workers, as he's now equal on workers with the Terran. Not mining from the gold base yet either, and he is lacking the money, not the production, as he is now getting ultras on the way, with chitinous plating on the way at the same time to really make them more durable. +3 armor, also almost finishing up, and +2 attack is a bit over halfway done, as we now see the Ghost Academy coming down. So does Deribou know of the ultra then? He does not. He has not seen any ultras either, so this is just good prediction play from Deribou, as hopefully he will get some of those ghosts to get rid of those ultralisks extremely fast. So far only 1 ultralisk out though, so he will probably be able to deal with that with just marines, although it's still not ideal. He is in fact not going for the ghosts and pushing out a lot of marauders, which will still be able to deal with the ultralisks. It's not as efficient as you would probably like it to be. The massive Lingbane force is slowly is just moving around a lot, checking the waters, as the creep is getting out further and further, but only on the left side on the map, as Deribou has done a great job at removing the creep on the right side of the map. And the Liberators are still standing over here, racking up a combined 35 kills so far for 2 Liberators, so I'd say they have been going at it quite well. As Vilee is going to try to see what bases are up for Deribou. Sees there is no 6th base, but he does kind of realize at this point that there is a 4th, possibly a 5th base at this location. As he is amassing a lot of army. 3-3 is about to finish up for the Terran player, which is going to make this Bioforce extremely threatening, whereas +2 vehicle weapons just finished up as well, so the tanks will be able to deal out a lot more damage than they already have been. And they have played a significant role in this game so far already. Liberator sieging up barely outside of the creep. Bio is here with it as Vilee decides to go for a surround. A lot of the Bio on the left side falls. Bio on the right side now also falls as 2 Ghosts are in fact here. The tanks are dealing a lot of damage, but there is just too much laying Bane as they now run into the planetary, taking an extremely inefficient trade, but he does clean up the army together with the 5th base for Deribou. Unfortunately for Vilee, this position was quite poor, though both players might not realize that, as the roles really seem reversed in terms of army movement compared to how the game should look like with the supply numbers. More banelings on the way for Vilee. Personal ghost cloaking on the way as well, making them even harder to kill for Vilee, as the number of ghosts is really racking up quite fast. High-sec auto tracking on the way as well. That was probably the issue why the planetary died. Of course, it couldn't see far enough. So tanks sieging up now as Vilee decides to go in for another attack. As Bio is kind of caught in between the lings. Banelings blow them up. Vilee retreats to the Liberator, picks up the Ghost so he doesn't lose them to the Banelings, but the Liberators are just putting out so much work. The tanks are a bit far back to protect the 5th base again, but Vilee kind enough to move into the range of the tanks as a lot of Banelings fall along with the Ultralisk. Vilee once more losing a lot of army, 12k down in the trades, as he continues his onslaught on the 5th base of Deribou. Meanwhile, his own 5th base finally saturated as well, but no 6th base on the way yet, so he seems to be fine being on an even base count, or well, soon to be even base count, as Deribou is once again trying to take the 5th base. Vilee, however, is mining out quite fast, so he will have to look to expand sooner or later, as he is really lacking in the minerals. The upgrades are about to even up, as 3-3 is finishing up for Vilee, as the Ghost launches its nuke on the 5th base of Vilee, as the 4th base falls for Deribou. Ghosts do get some value out of it, kill the Ultralisk, as the nuke manages to kill almost all of the workers on the 5th base, as 17 drones fall. The worker supply is now down for Vilee once more, and if you look at the army value, it is really looking like a game for Deribou to lose rather than to win it for him, as he has already won this game. He just needs to press the issue, as he's once again trying to re-expand to his 4th base. 5th base, it has now finished up, turning into a planetary once more, as another nuke is on the way, looking to get another juicy hit with that. As Vilee is trying to get rid of the pesky rocks in the middle. Some more Banelings finish up, but there really are not nearly enough to deal with the Bioforce that Deribou has managed to get up, as a lot of the Lings now fall for a couple Marauders, as Deribou is looking to press the issue at Vilee's 6th base, which he is trying to secure at this point. Fusion Core now on the way, probably for Liberator range, possibly for battlecruisers, because you know what they say, all roads lead to battlecruisers. As a nuke, very optimistic nuke is coming down on the right side, looking to get the army, but the army decides it's just going to fight instead. As the Lings go in, separate from the Banes. Banes move more towards the tanks, which probably should have wanted to go towards the bio, but the tanks do get cleaned up. Deribou staying back, preparing another nuke, as this one pretty much hit nothing as the bio comes back in once more. Loses a couple links, decides that this is not a fight he can take, more for some more Banes instead. Alright, Bioforce being under attack once more, but there are just too many units that the Banes cannot trade efficiently against. Another incredibly inefficient trade as he's now down 16k in the trades, and Deribou is trying to push the issue against a 100 supply Zerg with a 200 supply Terran. As the bio moves in once more, but there is just too many ghosts, too many tanks, too many liberators and marauders, and they do end up cleaning up the army for Vilee, as it is 125 army supply against 37 army supply. Only 2 Banes on the way, as he does not have the minerals to afford it anymore, since he is running out of minerals at almost every base that he still has. He's trying to expand it. Never mind, that's not a drone. He's not trying to expand there, he's just trying to build up the army. As Deribou moves back home, still on full supply, so I'm not sure what he's waiting for. Decides to finally go back onto the position he just was. Don't know why you ran away from it then, as he sets up the Liberators once more. Seems he's not interested in trying to deny the mining anymore, and he's fully committed to going for the main base and the natural where the tech is located, as Vilee does finally GG out, evening up the series 2-2. Altitude.
Ace match time, let's go.
Alright, here we go. Alright, for our last and final game, we find ourselves on altitude, as the series has tied up due to the pretty good bio play from our Terran in the bottom left here, Deribou, whereas Vilee seems to be suffering a bit from the Terran tenacity, staying extremely long in that last game, as the situation had been pretty dire for a while. But he's looking to show us that his Zerg can in fact win against Deribou's Terran. As we are now in the ace match to decide who is going to end up the winner for the series. And so far they seem to be mirroring their builds, and it's standard play once more. Deribou, apart from the first game, showing he's willing to play that standard macro game, showing that he is in fact quite strong with it at the same time. So it could be another interesting game. But of course, Vilee, the Zerg player on the other side, could decide to mix it up, go for a bit more of an aggressive build, maybe expand a bit more, get some more workers. There's only one way to find out what he's going to do, and unfortunately for us, we're a few minutes off from seeing what that is, and a few minutes off from that action. But so far, both players are just going to take their expansions and slowly but surely scout across the map to see whether they are in fact trustworthy of playing that macro game. So far, no mistakes yet, but that is to be expected as we are at a decent level here. They should at least be able to do their opening build orders, and they are in fact showing that this is for sure the easy part in the game. As the SCV checks to see whether it is in fact a normal hatch timing, and confirms that it is, as the third base is now going up. In the meantime, as the Reaper makes his way across the map, Lings are in time this game around, so the Reaper will not be able to get a drone kill like last game. Deribou did forget to micro it for a bit, so it takes a lot of damage on that from just Lings, but seems to not be afraid of the Lings as he's now fully paying attention to the Reaper. Queen does come out, so the Reaper will be forced to at least leave for a little bit until his health has regenerated, which, if you ask me, is cheating. Which is why the Protoss are also cheating, because why the hell do shields regenerate over time? I don't see them have a battery on their back, like a backpack. That would be a cool upgrade for the Zealots though. Reaper chipping away at the third base, really trying to tell Vilee, I know you have this brick, and Vilee fully aware of that now. You know, the intimidation factor is important at the same time, as Deribou seems to really not like to mix up his builds, as it is pretty much the same opening. Looking to see whether maybe he does mix it up and go for the Banshees this game around, or maybe he will just go for... Well, I don't even remember what he went for last game, but it wasn't Banshees. I was excited to see those, and he disappointed me. As the Queens are now trying to get out the creep, and a lot of drones on the way in the meanwhile, so no real mix-up yet, as a lot of army is not to be expected for now. Reaper Hellion just trying to keep the creep in check once more, but of course the Queens, if they have something to say about that, they will not be here in the first place. As he does get a little bit adventurous, gets one drone, will probably get two drones, but the Reaper Hellion will be taking a lot of damage here before they manage to get out. As two of the Hellions will probably not be able to stay here much longer unless the reinforcements decide to go across the map, which they do. Third CC now on the way for Deribou, so he is mixing it up a slight bit, as usually he gets his barracks before the third base, but he's looking to play a bit more economical in this current game. Stim on the way, and at the same time the reactor on the starport, as the Baneling Nest is finishing up for Vilee, trying to keep him safe against all of the bio that is slowly but surely going to march across the map, whether that is now or in a couple of minutes. It is really up to Deribou, but since the barracks are only now on the way, it will probably be a couple of minutes as a couple of Hellions do fall to the Queen's endlings, but seem to have no intention of going back home as they try to juke out Vilee and go back into the third base. Kill one drone so far, but quick reaction time from Vilee does pull away the drones. Two more do fall, but all of the Hellions fall for 6 drones in total. Overlord's now being pushed out of the main base, so making sure that they will give no more info to Vilee as the Liberator racks up 8 kills in the main base. Probably a couple larvae in here as the Hellions drone kills are still in there as well, and most of the drones were in fact pulled back. Vilee responding with a Spore Crawler, which probably the right decision, as the natural base for Deribou is now fully saturated, and he will probably start to look to expand to that third base, as the work counts are extremely close, especially for this matchup. So it's going to be a bit of a rough game if Vilee does not manage to get a significant lead over his opponent soon, at least in the worker count. As the bio count is slowly but surely growing as the two barracks finish up with the reactors, and barracks 4 and 5 are on the way to make a significant force to deal with the Zerg player on the other side of the map. Vilee now expanding to his 4th base. Let's hope he can keep it alive for this game, because the fact that it died last game was really the detriment which started the onslaught of the Terran. As Vilee is starting to make some links, spreading out some links across the map at the same time to spread that vision. I like this position for the Liberator, really denying the vision for the Zerg, so this way you can in fact push across the map without him knowing it, which is going to make it very rough for Vilee to deal with if he doesn't know the push is coming. But so far Marines are just staying at home and waiting for that 1-1 upgrade. Bane speed is finished in time for the first push, this time for Vilee, as he starts morphing a couple of Bane. He does not morph a couple of Banes, I take it back. As the double drop now heads across the map. And we'll see how Vilee is going to deal with it. He does know it's coming as the Link is here in position. A couple Links come to clean up the Marine at the Watchtower. So Double Drop decides to drop outside of the creep to clean it up before any units show up. Liberator did decide to move, so this Watchtower is now fully available to Vilee, and he takes full advantage of that as Liberator is making its way across the map. Whereas the Double Drop is trying to clear some creep, deal some damage to the fourth base, and just trying to take some trades before any of the Marines fall. Deribou, losing about 6 Marines, decides to go drop into the main, as the Liberator is now sieging up on that third base for Vilee. Queen dies in time, so the Liberator is now uncontested, shooting away at those drones. No response yet, as 4 drones fall. The drones are in fact pulled, and Sport Crawler comes over, but the Liberator is in time with moving away. Double Drop did a good job by distracting the Zerg, as Deribou now pulls himself ahead in both the worker count and the army supply, and it is looking very good for Deribou, our turn player, as he drops his 4th base, and looking to expand his lead even further, as 2-2 now also starts up, whereas +1 is barely finishing for Vilee. Hive is on the way, so I'm curious to see what he's going to do with that. Might just be for Ultralisk again, as he is getting all the melee upgrades, and there is no Adrian for any lurkers or any Spire for the Broodlords, so we're most likely going to see the Ultralisks once more, as Deribou makes his way across the map, tries to set up, but the bio is here before the Mine Burrows, and a lot of the Marines do in fact fall to those Banelings, as the rest of the Ling Bane is moving in, kills a lot of the bio again, but is there enough Ling Bane to deal with the remainder of these of the Marines? Unfortunately for Deribou, a bit of miss micro, so all of the Marines do in fact fall as the army supply evens up, and Vilee pulls ahead in the worker count at the same time. Now, still a really good position for Deribou, but he definitely is trying to throw the ball back to Vilee, as Vilee is now going for his 5th base and seems to be in a much more comfortable position than the last game, as Deribou is going to land his 4th base at this point. At the same time, 3 more racks starting up, so Deribou is really getting his production in a good spot to keep up the aggression. But for now, he's staying home to make sure that his bases are in fact kept safe, as he also is spreading out some Marines to gather vision. But Vilee seems to have no intention of moving across the map for now. Ultralisk Cavern is coming down, 2-2 upgrades are on the way as well, so it is going to be quite a scary Ling Bane force, especially once those Ultralisks do show up. Deribou moving across at the almost perfect time, catches all of the Banes morphing, as there are only 9 Banelings here to defend this massive bio force with mine support. A lot of the Lings running into the mines with Banelings running across it, or past it, as the bio picks up, takes a fantastic trade and loads back outside of the creep. More Banes now finishing up, so the Marines will have to do some splitting, but 2 Liberators are here to support as I run by at the same time, cleared out all of the workers at the 3rd base for Deribou. Reinforcements are dealing with this, at the same time he's trying to clear some more creep. Liberators killing a few Banes before they get to the bio. Only 8 Marines make it out alive. As 1 Ling, trying to get everything he can, falls in the end. As Deribou decides to regroup at home, whereas Vilee is going to try to press the issue at the 4th base, but seems to be content with just getting the Watchtower. Right, Deribou's army, still very scary. It's now pretty good upgraded with 2-2, but no 3-3 on the way, as the 3-3-4, or at least the +3 attack for Vilee is in fact faster. Liberator once again harassing that Watchtower, making sure that Vilee does not have the vision there, which works out for him. Though he, after losing that mineral line, he is at a economic disadvantage for now. But with that 5th base on the way, he might be able to even it up in a bit. As Vilee positions aggressively with the Ultralisks and the Banelings, and the Zerglings, looking to meet up with them, as Chitinous Plating is finishing up now, and he seems to be willing to press the issue immediately, as this is probably the best timing he's going to get. The bio comes in from behind, but upon seeing the Ultralisk decides to back off for now, but the Lynx and Ultras do not give up on the chase. Marines not the best against Ultralisks, as the Marauders were left behind to tank the Banelings, so they will not be able to deal with those Ultralisks as the Banelings keep chasing the Marines. Even though they are off creep, there are enough Banelings to make this a very scary force. But with all the Banelings gone, Vilee does not seem to be willing to keep this attack going any longer, which is probably the wise choice, as only 6 Ultralisks are still here. Probably would have been able to deal with the Marines that were left, but we're going to have a hard time with that Planetary and the Marauders that were showing up as reinforcements. Vilee at the same time going up to 6 bases. 6th base has in fact already finished up, as he tries to make his way into the 3rd base of Deribou. Deribou heavily overstimmed, losing a lot of health on that. The mines are doing a great job of cleaning up the Zerglings, however, but the Ultralisks are proving to be quite hard to deal with. The Banes do in fact fall, so the bio is safe from those, but a lot of the buildings, a lot of the production that Deribou had lined up here in the middle did get cleaned up. Now, trade's not looking great for Vilee, but in the superior economic position he is in this game compared to last, he can afford to make these trades, as he once more moves into this position, loses a lot of health, and even loses the Ultralisk to the Liberators, as they almost all get cleaned up before they even make it to the 3rd base. All of the mules and 14 SCVs did fall to the Banelings. The 3rd is not lifted, does in fact fall, but the supplies are still really close, as the army supply is pretty much even. The only thing that Vilee is ahead in is the workers. But there is a new replacement here for Deribou as another Ultralisk falls, but 19 SCVs fall in total, only putting Vilee ahead by pretty much exactly 19 SCVs. As he tries to keep up the aggression, more Banelings aggressively, a lot of Lynx showing up, but there are no Ultras left. So this push is not really that scary any longer, until those Ultras show up, as they are still in production. Deribou looking to re-expand to that 3rd base. Really has to keep up his unit production, as he seems to be lacking in that at the moment. Lands the 3rd base, Vilee trying to immediately jump on this as it tries to morph into a Planetary. A couple of Lynx do get picked off before Vilee decides to commit, as he's going to morph more Banelings before actually going in, or so I hope. Baits the Widow Mine with only 3 Zerglings. Pretty good micro, as he now goes in once more with the Ultras, with the Banelings and the Zerglings, as 3rd base falls once more, and he's now jumping on the rest of the army, which falls to those Ultras, as there is no great unit to deal with both Zerglings and the Ultras, and closing out the series 3-2 in favor of Vilee. GG.
GG's.
Mm.